Our hospital was started by my great-grandfather, Dr. B.K. Narayan Rao.
Huge legacy.
So, first of all, before I start about our legacy, I would like to congratulate Madam Maya Chandra for this wonderful concept. Many of the people whom we saw over here are people whose stories we have heard in the dinner table. They were the heroes. For me as a child growing up, these doctors were the heroes. And each one of them was such a perfect example of how life should be lived, that you don't need any other book of philosophy, you don't need anything else. You just saw them living their lives, and that was ample enough for you to adjust and decide how you want to live. So great-grandfather came from a small village in Arkalgud Taluk called Baswapatna. And in those days, he went to the Madras Medical College, finished his MBBS training there. And then he worked in the Madras government service. And he had worked with the great Donovan, who discovered the sandfly transmits the leishmaniasis. And then subsequently his bosses encouraged him, why don't you go to England and train there and come back. So training in those days in England wasn't, they wouldn't give you surgical opportunities or anything. You would go there, take the exam, observe and come back, and then you would read and do things. So he went there, trained and came back. He also did an ophthalmology training. He was a general surgeon and an ophthalmologist. And when he came back, soon after he moved to Mysore. And he was fortunate to operate upon both the mother and the aunt of the Krishnaraja Vadiyar Bahadur. And he became very close to the Mysore royal family. He was also given the responsibility of the Minto Eye Hospital. So for 17 years he headed a Minto Eye Hospital as the superintendent. I don't think anyone has such a long tenure. And while he was there, he was also the president of the National Education Society. He was one of the founder members of the Indian Academy of Sciences, which Sir C.V. Raman started. And post-retirement, he and some of his friends, Dr. Shafiullah Mekri is there, Dr. B.V. Ramaswamy's family is there, and Parvati is there, Dr. Shivram's granddaughter, and all of them together decided that Bangalore doesn't have a medical college. So earlier Mysore Medical College started in Bangalore. So great-grandfather was the second principal of the Bangalore Medical College, or Mysore Medical College in Bangalore. And subsequently it shifted to Mysore. So they decided, 5 private people decided to start a medical college. They went door to door, house to house saying, give us 2,000 rupees, we assure you 1 medical seat. Raised the funds, created the medical college, ran it for 3 years, made sure all permissions were got, and handed it back to the government for 1 rupee. You can't imagine that. They are putting their time, effort, and built an institution. And it's so surprising when you look at it. So many institutions which he was associated with, Bangalore Medical College, All India Ophthalmic Society, and all these he started. And all of them are still running. And so is Prabha Eye Clinic. We are very proud of that too. So, under the able leadership, we are 3 brothers, and my brother Vinay heads the organization as the medical director. My other brother Krishna heads the organization, our charitable wing, Vitala. Now, after great-grandfather, my grandfather continued the legacy. He was the son-in-law. So it's very interesting. So because my great-grandfather had crossed the seas, so he was excommunicated by his community, which was a very conservative Brahmin community. So he was not very bothered because they would still come and take treatment and he was useful to them. But when the time came for him to marry his daughters off, that was the difficult time because no one was willing to give a boy for his daughters. So he thought of a sort of a plan where he sponsored the education of many of young children and also got his daughters married to them. So my grandfather had finished his BSc. He got a chance to study medicine because great-grandfather supported him. And later on, he inherited the Prabha Eye Clinic. It's an interesting story, slightly longish but worth listening. So when grandfather was in government service, he wanted to leave it. And his father-in-law warned him and said, if you think you can inherit my practice, you neither have the qualifications nor the capability to get this. And nevertheless, my grandfather gave up his government service, came to Bangalore. He started a small clinic called Crystal Eye Clinic on Brigade Road and in Sheshadripuram. And mornings he would assist my grandfather in Prabha Eye Clinic on Vadinvilas Road. And one day, great-grandfather had gone for an eye camp, and when he returned, grandfather handed him the purse saying that this is the earnings. And he said, how come so much? He said, no, I operated one set of patients, discharged them, and next set I have operated. So he went around the whole hospital, saw each patient, walked back, took out the keys of the hospital, handed it to my grandfather, and walked out. And thereafter he never came back to run the place. So it is. So, and from next, my father, he was simply legendary. I mean, people who have worked with him, if you spent 1 hour with him, you would think ophthalmology was the only thing worth doing in life. He was so inspiring. And he had such a photographic memory. He would remember everything. I remember my pathology exam, I came back, we were all very upset because they had asked one stain which was nowhere given in any of the textbooks we were reading. So he came back, he was having lunch and said, no, they've given something which is totally out of the portion. That, here I am, medicine again, portion error. So then I said, no, he's staying in Robinson Illa, a big fat book. He just looked at the question paper and he said, Benjamin Boyd, page 805, left hand top corner. I was astounded. I went, there was Benjamin Boyd, I picked it up and looked, page 805 on the top left hand corner, that stain is mentioned. That was the level of his this thing. He was simply brilliant, and across ophthalmology, anything. He was a pole-to-pole surgeon and beyond. He could do very good oculoplasty, great glaucoma work. He was one of the first people in the country to do trabeculectomies. There are so many firsts. Vitrectomies he started in Bangalore. I think the second institution in India to start vitreoretinal surgery, vitrectomies. And he used to be great at everything. And very, very inspiring man. And at the same time, extremely humble. Sometimes when he was going out, if even a poor patient who was a free patient who walked in, he would come back from the car, treat that patient and go. So these are the things which we imbibed from them. And really it is a privilege to be born in a family like this and inherit this legacy. We hope we have 2 more little ones who are the 5th generation who are training and a few more in the wings. So I think if they can get this humanity which they have got. And before I finish, I would also acknowledge from my maternal side, Seen Mama or Srinivas Murthy, who was my mother's uncle, was also a practitioner in Baswangudi, and so I inherit, this is a medical profession from both sides. So thank you.